The girl was truly a princess by blood, yet she had been abandoned at an orphanage since childhood and suffered every kind of cruelty. Meanwhile, her birth father and brother treated the fake princess they had adopted like a treasure. They even called the real girl a fraud, insisting their only treasure was the false princess. Seeing how heartless they were, the girl fell into despair, and in the end died a tragic death, utterly alone. At the orphanage, the little girl looked down at her own body. It took her a long while to confirm she truly had been reborn into another world, and worse, into the body of the real princess with the most tragic fate in the story, Lena. Thinking back to being beaten by the matron as a small child, and scolded by her father and brother once she grew older. Knowing her fate would end so miserably, Lena grew deeply anxious. She refused to simply sit and wait for death. Just then another girl appeared and ordered Lena down to the kitchen to cook. This girl's name was Tellen, the matron's lackey, who was always bullying Lena. Sure enough, Tellen deliberately blocked her path to the kitchen. But unlike before, this time Tellen helped her back up. Lena worried something was off, suspecting Tellen was up to no good. Tellen grabbed her hand and pulled her straight into the kitchen. Lena made an excuse to send Tellen away, then quickly checked herself over, and found something in her pocket. The matron's ring. So Tellen really had meant to frame her. If the matron caught her with the ring on her person, she would surely be beaten to death. Lena came up with a plan. While Tellen wasn't looking, she slipped the ring back into Tellen's own pocket. Then, pretending to be concerned, she stepped forward to ask what was wrong. The commotion drew the matron over. Seeing the matron's dark expression, Tellen quickly claimed it was all Lena's doing, that Lena had deliberately tripped her. Lena instantly put on a pitiful, wronged expression. Clearly you tripped over your own feet, or how is that my fault? The other children, who were often bullied by Tellen themselves, spoke up one by one in Lena's defense. Seeing the situation turning against her, Tellen scrambled toward the matron. She claimed she had seen with her own eyes that Lena stole the ring and hid it in her pocket. Hearing this, the matron flew into a rage and stepped forward to strangle the little girl. But Lena was quicker. She tore off her own coat and turned every pocket inside out to prove she hadn't stolen anything. The other children also came forward as witnesses, saying Lena had stayed on the first floor the whole time and never went up to the matron's room. But Tellen insisted she had seen it with her own eyes. Lena stared straight at Tellen. But the only person who went up to your room today was you. Hearing that, the matron walked straight toward Tellen, and sure enough, found the ring on the girl herself. The whole orphanage fell dead silent. Only then did Tellen understand. Lena's earlier trip had been a setup to frame her all along. The girl scrambled to protest that it wasn't her, that it was all Lena's doing. But the matron slapped her so hard she fell sprawling to the ground. I feed you and raise you, and you still dare to steal from me? The matron dragged her off to settle the score. Tellen thrashed and struggled with all her might, screaming that today of all days this couldn't happen, that a chance this hard to come by could not slip away. Only then did Lena notice Tellen was dressed unusually well today, and her whole manner was different from normal. Suddenly it hit her. Could today be the day Duke Balo came to the orphanage to adopt a child? Because of the strange power in their blood, House Balo had long been called a cursed family. To wash away that reputation, they occasionally visited orphanages to adopt. Lena thought that if she wanted to change her tragic fate, she would need the Duke's help. So she could be the first to meet him, Lena deliberately went to sweep the yard by the front gate. After a long wait, the sound of carriage wheels finally rang out. Lena took a deep breath and pushed open the orphanage's heavy front gate. Standing there were two men in fine, elegant clothing. The one with the cold expression was none other than Duke Balo. The youth beside him, still boyish-looking, had to be his son. Seeing them, Lena smiled. "Big brother, you're so handsome." Her sweet, adorable look instantly won the young man over. The boy's name was Wendy. Lena remembered. He was the male second lead of the original story, a boy who, denied Princess Eula's love, gradually turned bitter and became a villain. Lena took his hand and led both of them to find the matron. This caught the Duke off guard. The other children had burst into tears at the sight of them, terrified of the curse. This child really is different. As Lena led the way, the Duke explained his purpose. They wished to temporarily foster a child. The matron hurried off to pick a suitable one for him. But the Duke stopped her. His gaze settled on the girl in his arms. "No need, we want this one." The girl could hardly believe it. They had only just met, and already His Grace the Duke had firmly chosen her. He carried her away from the orphanage as if waking her from a nightmare. Not wanting to seem ungrateful for the Duke's kindness, Lena insisted she would work hard, but he told her to simply relax and enjoy her new life, and that he would even announce her adoption publicly in the papers. Dale teased her with a grin. "You're so skinny, you need to eat plenty of good food to fatten up." Just then the carriage hit a bump. Lena, unable to steady herself, nearly toppled over, but the Duke caught her just in time. That look of concern left Lena stunned. It was the first time anyone had ever cared for her like that. It turned out another carriage had suddenly swerved out from a side road. Lena looked out the window and saw a man inside that other carriage weeping bitterly. When they arrived back at the Duke's estate, Lena saw rows of servants lined up to greet them. For a moment she felt overwhelmed with pressure, when suddenly a flash of white light burst before her eyes. Startled, Lena buried herself in the Duke's arms. It turned out to be nothing more than a camera, but the photographer himself was so terrified he dropped to his knees, bowing his head to the ground over and over, begging forgiveness. This struck Lena as very strange. Commoners meeting nobility wouldn't normally be this afraid. Could it really be because of the Duke's family curse? The Duke waved the photographer away, then carried Lena inside the manor. The steward and headmaid Lucy came out to greet them. Lena bowed to them, sensing everyone's warmth, but she reminded herself not to get too comfortable in it. The Duke had only taken her in as a temporary foster child. She had to seize this chance to change her situation for good. Just then another boy appeared. The Duke's youngest son, Dale. Lena formally introduced herself to the three of them. "My name is Lena. I'm 6 years old. Thank you all for taking me in." Both boys were close to Lena's age and quickly warmed up to her, which surprised Lena a little. This family wasn't nearly as frightening as the rumors claimed. Or maybe, since they rarely met outsiders, meeting her was simply that exciting for them. Everyone asked if Lena had a nickname, but she had never had one. So the Duke decided to give her one himself. "How about Suzu? It sounds soft, like a cream puff. So I remind you of a pastry, huh?" Dinner time came quickly, and Wendy carried Lena toward the dining room. Dale begged to carry her too, but his brother said he wasn't ready yet. He was still too weak and might hurt Lena, not until he could swing a sword 1,000 times in a row. Eager to prove himself, Dale declared, "I'll definitely work hard at it." Then the two brothers carried Lena together and set her down in her chair. Such careful, attentive care. It was as if they truly were her own brothers. She had a father and brothers who loved her, a stable life, no more threat to her very survival. Yet in truth, she was the very princess the royal family had once cast aside. One careless slip and it could cost her life. Lena couldn't help but sigh. If only these people really were her family. "From now on, just call me Brother Wendy, all right? And you may call me Brother Dale." When the meal finally arrived, the little girl was dazzled by all the delicious dishes before her. It was the first time she had ever seen so many good things to eat. Wendy picked up a cream puff and placed it in front of Lena. Lena took a big bite, savoring every moment, thinking as she ate how pitiful her old life had been, to have missed out on so many delicacies. "From now on, I'll eat something delicious every single day." And she devoured every dish within reach. But partway through the meal, Lena suddenly felt a sharp cramp in her stomach, and unable to hold it back, began to vomit. Under everyone's worried gaze, her vision went dark and she fainted. Lena found herself somewhere strange, clear sunlight pouring over an endless field of golden wheat. In the murky haze, a voice kept guiding her forward. "Only you can wake me." Lena looked at the sleeping woman before her, and to her shock realized it was herself, a future version of herself. Lena understood then. This was the spirit mirror that, in the original story, had trapped her until she died. Lena slowly woke, finding herself lying in a bed, with everyone in the Duke's estate watching her anxiously. After the doctor examined her, it was determined that Lena had long been malnourished. Her stomach and intestines were far too weak. Suddenly eating so much rich, sugary food had overwhelmed her system and caused the cramps and vomiting. With some rest and proper care, she would recover. The Duke, Wendy, and Dale were all worried about Lena too. But Lena found it strange. Why were they standing so far away from her? Wendy kept avoiding her gaze. Could he be disgusted with her? Only then did Lena realize she hadn't bathed once since arriving at the estate. Add to that the vomiting and 2 days unconscious. The smell on her was, quite honestly, enough to make someone faint. Lena instinctively jumped out of bed. I'm sorry, I've dirtied the sheets. Dale hurried to stop her from moving too much, while the Duke told the head maid to take Lena for a bath. He also whispered something to the maid. His eyes no longer held their usual warmth. Instead, there was something almost wary in them. Under the head maid's careful care, Lena was washed clean of all the grime. But nothing could wash away the worry in her heart. The head maid asked Lena, when she was near the young masters, did she ever feel her body go numb or tremble uncontrollably? Lena had no idea why she'd ask that. In truth, it was a secret of House Ballo. The immense power passed down through their bloodline made anyone who got too close feel unwell. Over time, people outside began to whisper that the Duke's family carried a curse. The Duke's grim expression earlier had simply been fear that the curse was tormenting her, which was why she had fainted. But guilt filled Lena's heart. The Duke had treated her so well, and she wanted desperately to tell them not to worry about her. The head maid led Lena to the dressing room. The whole room was filled with gorgeous dresses prepared just for her, for Lena to choose freely. Since time was short, these were all ready-made. A tailor would soon come to take her measurements for custom pieces. A strange warmth filled Lena's heart. Ever since their very first meeting, the Duke had treated her with great respect, always asking her opinion and noticing even the smallest details. He cared for her, Wendy and Dale both loved her, and even the head maid treated her kindly. Coming here from the orphanage felt like stepping straight into paradise. At the orphanage, everyone hated her. She had felt like a child undeserving of love. Sometimes Lena doubted herself. Was she really that terrible a person? She felt that the Duke and everyone here were just like her. Princesses, in a way, people who had truly never been loved. Lena's meeting with the Duke's family was like two lonely embers leaning together for warmth. She didn't want the Duke and the others to push her away out of fear the curse might hurt her. Seeing the girl in tears, the Duke pulled her into his arms. Please don't push me away. Please don't hate me. That man, who was in truth the Emperor, had spent years traveling ceaselessly across the whole country, all to find the child he had lost 6 years earlier, ever since the imperial consort had told him the Empress died in a difficult labor, and the baby hadn't survived either. The Emperor had been devastated. Though he had personally held a funeral for the child, he could never shake one feeling, that his child was still alive. Because in the very moment the baby was born, he had sensed an immense surge of spirit power. So he clung to that sliver of hope, visiting every orphanage in the country, hoping to find that child. Even Crown Prince Lucas longed to be reunited with his little sibling. He sketched out in his mind a bright future spent together with his little sibling. I'll teach you swordsmanship, take you out to play everywhere. Lucas prepared gift after gift for his sibling's birthday until the pile grew larger and larger, while his hope of ever giving them grew fainter and fainter. Where on earth could my little sibling be? Besides Crown Prince Lucas, the Emperor also had a daughter born of the imperial consort. Her name was Eula. Since his marriage to the consort had been purely political, with no real affection behind it, he had never come to love this daughter. Everyone urged him to stop searching for a child long dead, but he refused to give up. I will never abandon this search. I must find my child. Lena buried herself in the Duke's arms, sobbing, afraid they wouldn't want her anymore. Comforted by the Duke and her brothers, Lena slowly steadied her emotions. The Duke even brought hot soup and fed it to her by hand. But having no experience caring for children, he accidentally burned her, making her cry out. Looking at how thin and frail she was, the Duke couldn't help but sigh. Lena's body was still far too weak. My own 2 sons grow strong no matter what I feed them, so easy to raise. That only made him more determined to fatten Lena up properly. The Duke promised Lena, as long as she ate well and took care of her health, he would let her enjoy delicacies her friends had never even tasted. That day, Wendy and Dale were playing with Lena in the garden. Susu, come here. At Dale's call, Lena ran to him without a moment's hesitation. Dale slipped her a piece of cake in secret, telling her to keep it hidden from his brother. Meanwhile, Wendy was writing something in a notebook. Ever since Lena had fainted, he and the doctor had drawn up a health plan, recording her daily activities without fail. Susu, come over here with me. At Wendy's call, Lena rushed right back over to him. By now, she had lost count of how many times she'd run back and forth like this. Susu, come here, I'll teach you swordsmanship. Hearing Dale call her again, Lena finally couldn't take it anymore. You two keep calling me back and forth. I'm exhausted. It's fine, I'll come to you, Dale said, waving his sword as he ran toward her. Sensing danger, Wendy rushed forward and blocked Dale's blade. How could you go charging at her with a sword like that? What if you'd hurt your sister? Only then did Dale realize how reckless he'd been, and quickly apologized to Lena. His sheepish expression made Lena burst out laughing. "Brother Dale, you're too adorable." The Duke watched the three children playing together, while listening to a servant's report on the investigation into the orphanage. The children there had never been properly fed, most of them malnourished. Their clothes were far too thin, and except for the matron's own room, every other room was left freezing. It seemed the matron had embezzled a great deal of the funding. Otherwise, the children's living conditions wouldn't have been this dire. Seeing the Duke, known for his composure, now visibly furious, the servant suddenly sensed that Lena might truly become a real part of this family. The Duke ordered a servant to bring Lena to him. He had a few questions for the little girl. His Grace the Duke, always so gentle, suddenly turned grim, asking her in a serious tone about what had happened at the orphanage. This startled Lena. "He isn't about to send me back there now, is he? I've only been here 2 weeks. Has His Grace already come to dislike me?" Lena's mind raced with worry. Maybe she should try to win him over right now, beg him not to send her away. Seeing the girl's face on the verge of tears, the Duke realized she had misunderstood. He quickly explained he had no intention of sending her away. He only wanted to know about the orphanage. To ease Lena's worry, the Duke brought over a small plate. "This is the treat I promised you last time. Try it." She thought it was just an ordinary cream puff, but its cool, refreshing taste caught her completely by surprise. It was a chilled cream puff. Someone had once loved this very treat. Seeing the sorrow in the Duke's eyes, he must have been thinking of his late wife. The Duke asked Lena for more information about the orphanage's matron. Lena secretly rejoiced. This was her chance to finally take down the cruel woman who had bullied so many children. Out loud, Lena said the matron was a good person, but let slip, seemingly by accident, that the children were never fed or clothed properly, and had to work more than 10 hours every single day. "Did she ever hit you?" "Of course she did. I was the most useless child there, so I worked hard trying to learn skills, hoping I might one day serve in a good household." Fury made the Duke clench his fists. Lena reached out to gently stroke his hand, and he caught it, holding on tightly instead. He promised Lena that from now on she would never have to suffer like that again. Lena's eyes stung. She nearly burst into tears. The Duke promised he would punish the matron severely so the other children could finally live warm, well-fed lives. A few days later, Dale and the head maid took Lena out for a walk. Since it was her first time outside, everything caught Lena's curious eye. Noticing Lena staring at the drink in a passerby's hand, Dale ran off to buy her one. Before the head maid could stop him, she had no choice but to lead Lena aside to wait. But when she turned back around, he was already gone. At that very moment, in a narrow alley, Lena found herself speechless, staring at the very matron standing before her. Why was she here? Only when she noticed the cloaked man standing behind the matron did Lena finally react. The Imperial Consort's people had come again. In the original story, the Imperial Consort ran a secret organization called the White Demon Tower. Ever since the consort had thrown Lena into the orphanage, she would periodically send someone to drain the spirit power from Lena's body. All because her own daughter Eula, though of royal blood, had no spirit power of her own. For her daughter's sake, the consort had repeatedly drained Lena's spirit power for Eula to use. Remembering the agony of having her power torn away, Lena began to shake all over. She wanted to run, but the man had already pulled out a power-absorbing stone. While struggling against him, Lena shattered a vial of medicine the man was carrying. This sent him into a rage. "You dare defy me?" Just as the spirit-draining stone was about to touch her, Lena screamed for help. "Your Grace, please save me." The next instant, the Duke appeared as if descending from the heavens. He roared at the man in fury. "Get your filthy hands off her this instant." Seeing the whole family had come to her rescue, Lena could hardly believe her eyes. But the man showed no fear at all. He summoned his dark power and quickly conjured a protective barrier before him. He planned to use Lena as a hostage to threaten the Duke. "What should I do now?" Lena looked around anxiously. The barrier dissolved along with his focus. Seizing the moment, the Duke lunged forward, sword drawn. An instant later, the man went limp, collapsing motionless to the ground. Lena stared fixedly at the stone that had fallen to the ground. If only this could be destroyed, the consort would never be able to drain her spirit power again. But that last burst of power had drained her completely. Even lifting her arm felt impossibly hard. She wanted to grab the stone, but her body wouldn't move. Just then, Wendy scooped her up to leave. Lena panicked. "No, wait, brother, you have to destroy that stone." The words had barely left her mouth when the man on the ground suddenly stirred. Just as he was about to reach the stone, Dale swung his sword down at him without warning. "Susu, look, isn't your brother cool?" But the man refused to give up. He quickly chanted a spell and unleashed a burst of dark magic. The stone floated back into his hand, and his body slowly began turning transparent. Just as he was about to vanish along with the stone, a sword suddenly slashed down, pinning his hand, and the stone with it, straight to the ground. The staggering force shattered the man's heart instantly. He coughed up blood and died. A flash of killing intent crossed the Duke's eyes, a pity he hadn't been able to hold back his strength. "Father, now that he's dead, we'll never know why he kidnapped Sis." "It's fine, we still have one more." With that, the Duke flung his sword, slicing off a lock of the matron's hair. The matron dropped to the ground with a thud, begging the Duke for mercy. The Duke looked at her as if she were nothing but garbage, without a shred of warmth in his eyes. "You dared to hurt the child under my protection." Watching the once arrogant matron now groveling on the ground like a dog, and remembering all the humiliation and abuse she herself had once endured, Lena felt an overwhelming wave of self-pity. Wendy pulled her into a tight hug. "It's all right now, we'll never let anyone bully you again." The Duke asked the matron who the dead man had been. But the matron knew that speaking his name would mean certain death, so she kept her mouth shut. The Duke sneered. "You do all this and you still expect to live?" He drew his sword and pointed it straight at her. "Wendy, Dale, watch closely. No matter how insignificant the enemy, you must root out every trace of them to avoid future trouble." Seeing their father about to strike, Wendy and Dale rushed to stop him. "Sis is still here. Seeing this will frighten her." A little irritated, the Duke rubbed his forehead. "My mistake." He told Wendy to take Lena back first. But the matron suddenly called out to Lena, grasping at her like a lifeline. "Please, child, I was truly wrong." Lena merely glanced at her once, then turned to the Duke and asked if he planned to replace her with a new matron, so the children wouldn't be beaten or scolded anymore. And wouldn't have to go hungry or cold or be forced to work every day anymore, right? Once the Duke gave his confirmation, Lena smiled. "Madam, back when I begged you for help, you refused me. Even just now when I cried out for help, you paid me no mind at all. Now that you're the one begging me, it's already too late. All because of one careless moment of yours. A little girl was subjected to such a horrifying kidnapping." Even though their father had personally saved Lena himself, Dale still couldn't forgive himself. Lena quickly comforted him. "Those men grabbed me all of a sudden. How could that possibly be your fault? Besides, I trusted that the Duke and you two would come save me." Even Lena didn't fully understand why she'd been so certain of that, considering she'd only been with this family for less than a month. This time it was truly thanks to the Duke and everyone else that she'd made it out safely. But the consort surely wouldn't let this go so easily. This time she'd gotten lucky and been rescued. But what about next time? If the consort tried to destroy both her and House Balo, what could she do? After all, the consort belonged to the royal family, and her own maiden family was the most prestigious among the nobility, controlling vast lands and the empire's food supply. House Balo, though the mightiest family in the empire, had stayed out of politics for so long that its influence among the nobility had grown relatively weak. If the consort managed to rally every noble house against them, what could they possibly do? The Duke and everyone else had treated her so well. Lena couldn't bear to watch them fall into danger because of her. Noticing something off about Lena's color, Wendy reached out to feel her forehead. Sure enough, she had a fever. By now, Lena too felt something was wrong with her body. Her head spun. If only she had some water to drink, she thought. And suddenly, a great stream of water poured down from the sky directly onto her. All three of them stood frozen at the sight. Soaked to the bone and chilled to her core, Lena curled up, shivering violently. Wendy quickly pulled her close, trying to warm her up. Still trembling, Lena thought, if only there were a fire to warm herself by. Instantly, flames roared to life on both of them. Fire! Dale reacted in a flash, yanking a bedsheet off the bed and smothering them both with it. The flames vanished at once, leaving neither of them hurt. But Lena could feel her own body growing stranger by the moment. Her vision went dark and she passed out again. Late that night, Lena drowsily opened her eyes. Through the haze, she made out a vague figure approaching her. The figure gently brushed a hand over her forehead. "My contracted one, don't be troubled anymore." The gentle voice put Lena at ease. She closed her eyes and sank into a deep sleep. In her dream, fragmented images flickered past. She only felt that this person seemed strangely familiar. A white-haired young man gazed at the girl for a long while, as if beholding a rare treasure. "Since the seal is still unbroken, this is the only way I can come see you. Don't worry, the discomfort you feel now is only your spirit power awakening. Please get well soon. This time I will make sure your wish comes true, that you get to live a happy life." The young man's figure slowly faded, his lingering voice still echoing in her ears. "Please find me soon, I'll always be waiting for you." First, the girl had been inexplicably drenched in cold water, then suddenly scorched by flames. And finally, exhausted, she had passed out. This left Dale deeply worried. He shook the doctor desperately, begging him to save Lena. Thankfully, Lena woke up in time. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing the Duke, Lena immediately asked how the matron had fared. The Duke paused for a moment. "She embezzled funds, abused orphans, and even kidnapped you. I had her executed on the spot." This outcome was exactly what Lena had expected. At this point, the Duke summoned someone. A mage named Iger from the Azure Demon Tower, brought in to investigate the kidnapping. Hearing that a mage had arrived, Lena grew a little tense. The Duke reassured her, "We're all here with you, just say whatever you know." That man touched me with a gemstone, and my whole body was overcome with agonizing pain, as if all my strength was being drained out of me. Back at the orphanage, he used to treat me the same way. Everyone present grew furious upon hearing this. Iger explained patiently to Lena, "We need to understand exactly what kind of power lies within you, so that something like this never happens again." Lena hesitated. The power inside her was spirit power, something only the royal bloodline possessed. If the Duke found out and insisted on returning her to the royal family, what should she do? Thinking of Princess Eula, who had stolen everything that should have been hers, and of the father and brother who had once abandoned her, even if the Duke sent her back, there wouldn't be a single person there who actually wanted her. Seeing the worry in the Duke's eyes, Lena no longer had the heart to keep hiding it from him. This was bound to come out sooner or later anyway. She might as well trust his grace this once. Lena took hold of Iger's hand. The instant Iger channeled his magic, Lena felt dark power spreading through her entire body. Suddenly, Iger's eyes went wide. "What is this?" As everyone crowded in with concern, Iger explained that what he sensed inside Lena wasn't magic at all. It was spirit power. But isn't spirit power something only the royal family possesses? Could Lena possibly be royalty? The Duke suddenly thought of the Empress and the child who had died in childbirth 6 years ago. If that child had survived, they would be roughly Lena's age now. The Duke sent Iger away, ordering him to keep everything about today an absolute secret. He comforted the girl who was clearly falling apart. "Lena, do you want to return to the royal family? Do you want to reclaim your identity as princess?" Lena shook her head over and over. "I don't want to go back. If I really were a princess, then why was I left in an orphanage? Why did no one protect me while I was bullied endlessly?" She clutched at the Duke's arm, pleading desperately. "I'm just an ordinary orphan. You don't need me anymore now, do you?" "That's right, I don't need an ordinary orphan." Hearing this, Lena felt her heart plunge into an abyss. "But what I do need is a daughter." The Duke gently wiped away Lena's tears, then knelt down on one knee. Under Lena's astonished gaze, he asked solemnly, "I will always protect you. Will you agree to become my daughter?" The Duke produced a necklace. "This is a treasure our family has passed down to its daughters for generations. Will you agree to become my daughter? And if you don't, that's all right too. I will still protect you no matter what you choose. I will respect your decision either way." There was nothing Lena wanted more than to join this family so full of love. She longed to say yes right then and there, but the thought that House Ballo might fall into danger because of her made her hesitate once more. Ever since her spirit power had awakened, Lena's health had improved a great deal. She no longer looked so frail and thin, only she often found herself staring blankly at that necklace. She didn't even notice when Wendy and Dale had come up beside her. "What, are you still thinking it over? Whether to become part of our family?" "We'd never push you into it," Father said. "The choice is entirely yours." But Dale couldn't sit still any longer, unable to understand why Lena wouldn't just say yes. Honestly, I really do want to live with all of you, but I'm afraid staying here will hurt House Bellow's reputation. Well then, looking at the newly renovated building, Lena almost didn't recognize it as her old orphanage. The children, delighted to see her, gathered around at once, marveling at how much she had changed. Sister, you're so pretty now. Even after moving into the Duke's household, you haven't forgotten your old friends. This left Lena puzzled. What are you all talking about? It's thanks to you that the wicked matron is gone. Now we have such a kind new one. We even have warm new clothes for winter now. We don't have to worry about going hungry or cold anymore. You're so wonderful. That's exactly why the Duke treasures you so much. Lena suddenly thought of Tellin and asked where she had gone. The children said the old matron had punished Tellin severely, beating her badly. Fearing the girl might actually die there, the old matron had sent her off to a different orphanage. Though Lena had never liked Tellin, she still hoped the girl would find somewhere kind, somewhere she wouldn't be hit anymore. Seeing that the day was growing late, Lena said goodbye to the children. She asked Wendy why he had brought her here. Wendy told her, "You worked so hard to give these children a better life. A smart, lovely child like you will shine no matter where you are. Why worry about something as meaningless as reputation?" When they arrived back home, the Duke led Lena to a mysterious room. This was the gallery that preserved the history of House Bellow. The walls were lined with portraits of the family's past heads. The Duke turned to look at Lena. A portrait of any of the family's descendants can hang here too. He pointed to an aged portrait and explained, "This is our family's ancestor." Because her true form was a dragon, her pupils are shaped long and narrow. Lena thought to herself, so a dragon is basically a giant, flying, super-powered lizard. Suddenly, a voice rang out beside her ear. Lena turned toward the sound and saw a purple-haired youth standing quietly there. A pair of cold purple eyes stared fixedly at her. Lena froze. Who was he? Why did she feel as if she'd met him somewhere before? Lena tugged at the Duke's sleeve, gesturing for him to look. But when she turned back, the figure had already vanished. Lena began to wonder if she'd only imagined it. At the center of the gallery sat a small, exquisitely crafted crown. The Duke picked it up, intending to place it on Lena's head. Alarmed, Lena asked, "This looks so precious. What if I break it?" "It's fine. If it breaks, we'll just make another." The Duke explained to Lena that the Grand Duchy had always been a vassal state of the Empire, and that as the ruler of that state, if Lena agreed to become his daughter, she would truly become a princess in every sense, and all the family heirlooms reserved for daughters would be given to her as well. The Duke laid everything out before Lena, letting her make the choice herself. "Even if you say no, that's fine. I won't take any of this back." This left Lena utterly astonished. All the kindness she had received at the Duke's estate these past few days were things she never would have dared to dream of before. She didn't know if she could ever repay the Duke for everything he had given her. Lena didn't want to disappoint him, but she was afraid of putting the whole family in danger. "You don't know my circumstances. If you adopt me, someone will come to harm all of you because of it." "Are you talking about the imperial consort?" "Yes. Princess Eula, the consort's daughter, has no spirit power of her own. To keep up appearances, they've been sending people to steal my spirit power for her." This was exactly what worried Lena. The consort would surely send more people to steal her spirit power again. And each time the Duke's whole situation would grow more dangerous because of her. What if the consort came to see you as an enemy? What if she attacked you or my brothers next time? There will be nothing but trouble ahead. Now that you know all this, do you still want to adopt me? House Bellow isn't so weak that it can't protect one daughter. We have more than enough strength to handle all of this, so you don't need to worry about that at all. The Duke asked if she was truly certain she didn't want to return to the palace to find her real family. "No. I don't want to. They aren't my family. Whether it's the Emperor or the Crown Prince, they only ever loved Princess Eula." To Lena, the palace was nothing short of hell. "I don't have a family. I only have myself." "Then what about me? I want to be your family. My children and I will protect you and love you. We won't let anyone ever hurt you. Become my daughter and live with us." Faced with the Duke's heartfelt plea, Lena finally couldn't hold back her feelings any longer, and for the first time dared to face what was truly in her heart. "I want to live happily with all of you. No matter what, I will repay your kindness someday." "Then will you agree to become my daughter?" The Duke pulled the sobbing girl into his arms, letting her release all the years of pent-up hurt. He silently vowed to himself that he would give her all the love in the world, to heal her wounded heart. Just then, Wendy and Dale arrived too. Learning that Lena had agreed to become their sister, both brothers were overjoyed. "We'll always protect you. And please protect our happiness too." A lonely girl and a lonely family, in this very moment, became one. They held each other close, healing one another, vowing to remain family forever. The little abandoned princess had finally found the courage to face her own heart, choosing to become part of the Duke's warm and loving family. Having finally gained a beloved daughter, the Duke immediately switched into full doting parent mode. For the first time, he told Lena a bedtime story. "Susu, which story would you like to hear?" "I like this one, Your Grace." The Duke quickly corrected her. "We're father and daughter now, so what should you call me instead?" "Just 2 syllables will do." Gathering all her courage, Lena sweetly called out, "Papa." This left the vanity of this new adoptive father thoroughly, utterly satisfied. Lena listened quietly as her father told his story, a scene she had always longed for. Lulled by the Duke's gentle voice, she quickly drifted off to sleep. Lena found herself in a beautiful sea of flowers. She played happily, wanting to pick some flowers to bring back for Papa and her brothers. Suddenly, an urgent voice rang out in her mind. "I already warned you. Using your power again is dangerous." Lena jolted awake, astonished to find her room filled with fresh flowers, and a strange man bound tightly in vines. The man had a knife on him along with a large sack. A bad feeling crept over Lena. Could this man have been sent by the consort to kill her? Terrified, Lena screamed at the top of her lungs. At that very same moment, far away in the royal palace, the crown prince startled awake as well. He suddenly felt a surge of spirit power. The feeling was strangely familiar. Could it be my little sibling? They really are still alive. He rushed straight to the emperor to report the news. But the emperor was busy, so he had no choice but to wait outside. The emperor was in the middle of using spirit power to form a barrier, and the crown prince hurried to tell him that his sibling was still alive. It turned out the emperor had sensed it too, a surge of that same child's spirit power, coming from the direction of the Duke's territory. His child truly was still alive, and that could only mean one thing. Everything the consort had once told him had been a lie. She must have swapped the baby before the funeral was even held. Thinking that someone had deliberately torn father and child apart, the emperor's fury became impossible to contain. Anyone connected to this would be pursued to the ends of the earth. Father and son made a vow to each other that they would bring that child home no matter what. Hearing Lena's scream, the guards outside burst into the room, all stunned by the scene before them. "What's with all these flowers, and who is this man?" The Duke and his sons rushed over as well, anxiously asking if Lena was hurt. What surprised Lena most was this. Last time she'd used her spirit power, her head had pounded like a hammer, but this time there was no discomfort at all, only a strange sense of exhilaration. She explained to the Duke that she had dreamed of playing with vines in a flower garden, and upon waking had found this strange man tied up in vines right here. Dale looked at her with pure admiration. "How are you so cool? Next time, dream about a whole mountain of chocolate cake, okay?" The Duke, on the other hand, wore a thoughtful, troubled expression. Lena noticed her father's reaction wasn't quite normal. Could her power be even greater than she'd ever imagined? The little girl, now the Duke's adopted daughter, had become the treasure of the whole household. Not only had she been given a personal maid, but the Duke had also brought in the knight Roland to protect her. To thank everyone for their love, Lena made medals by hand and gave one to each person, touching the head maid deeply. Lena hadn't expected that such small, unremarkable little gifts could make everyone so happy. Roland told Lena that children deserve to be loved unconditionally. "I deserve to be loved by everyone." Just then, a conversation among the maids nearby caught Lena's attention. Apparently, the royal capital had issued a summons calling everyone with special abilities to the palace. Suddenly, Lena's feet left the ground as someone lifted her high into the air. It was Wendy, and seeing his sister Dale ran over happily too. The boy's eyes immediately caught the medal hanging around Roland's neck. "What is that thing you're wearing? It's so ugly." Roland proudly showed it off. "The young miss made this for me. It even says gentlest knight on it." The moment he heard it was Lena's work, Dale froze, instantly regretting his careless words. Lena simply ignored him. She hung the medal she'd made for Wendy around his neck. "For brother Wendy, the one who saved my life." By now, Dale was panicking, shaking Lena, and begging for forgiveness like mad. "I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please give me a medal too." Seeing him like this only made Lena want to tease him more. Didn't you say it was ugly? Well, I happen to like ugly things. Usually when I say ugly, I actually mean beautiful. Lena, giggling at his flustered state, pulled out a medal that read, "Handsomest brother in the world." For my most stubborn brother in the whole world. Dale clutched the medal to his chest like a treasure. Lena brought the last medal to her father's office. The moment she walked in, the maids and guards greeted her warmly. Lena noticed her father seemed a little down. She carefully held out the medal to him. "Papa, this one's for you." The Duke looked a bit wounded. "Why am I last? I thought I'd be first." Lena couldn't help but laugh at how he was acting. "I wrote on it that you're the greatest father in the world, along with a whole lot of things I really mean." "Papa, you have to accept it." It wasn't often his daughter acted so sweet with him. The Duke immediately put the medal on, grinning from ear to ear, his heart bursting with joy. It was then that he suddenly remembered something. He had received a summons from the royal family. Having sensed the surge of spirit power, the royal family had ordered everyone whose spirit power had awakened to report to the palace at once. But Lena didn't understand. She'd had her spirit power drained by Princess Eula for so long. So why was the royal family only coming for her now? Could it be that she had already shifted the course of her own fate? Seeing Lena's heavy expression, the Duke assumed she regretted being adopted by him. "No, that's not it at all. I've never thought that. I'm just really angry. I've finally found happiness here, so why do they suddenly want to take me back? My family is just you and my 2 brothers. Please don't send me back. Even if the Emperor himself comes for me, don't hand me over." The Duke reassured her, "As long as you don't want to go back, I will never send you away." So that his daughter could receive the finest education, the Duke posted an advertisement, searching for an excellent tutor to educate his young miss. The imperial consort read the advertisement, grinding her teeth in fury. She had already sent someone to snatch that brat back, and yet it had failed. Now that the brat had the Duke's protection, bringing her back would be nearly impossible. The original plan had simply been to drain her spirit power before she awakened, then hide her away to be used as a sacrifice. But so what if that plan failed now? I'll act before the Emperor ever finds this child, and make the Duke regret ever taking her in. The Duke found Lena a professor from the Royal Academy. Lena waited eagerly, full of anticipation to meet her, only to be met with the tutor's thinly veiled mockery. Clearly just a commoner who's never studied etiquette. Only a proper smile marks the makings of a true noble lady. The tutor gave a smug, sneering smirk. Well, no wonder. She's just an orphan commoner. Of course, no one ever taught her to smile properly. Lena hadn't expected the tutor to behave this way. Why did she look at her the way one might pity a lowly insect? "Don't worry, allow me to help you become an outstanding noble lady." Lena felt deeply uncomfortable. Is the way I behave really that much like a common orphan? Then how should someone of noble birth behave? Lena asked timidly. Do I have to become outstanding just to be a duke's daughter? The tutor's expression changed at once, criticizing Lena for how her pronunciation sounded nothing like nobility at all. Thoroughly disappointing. Under the tutor's constant belittling, Lena began to doubt herself. Could it be that the Duke and the maids only praised her out of pity, just to spare her feelings? A true noble lady must possess proper etiquette, presence, and beauty all at once. And of course, most important of all, the right bloodline. Lena finally understood. The tutor's real target wasn't her manners, it was her origins as a commoner orphan. But Wendy had once told her, no matter your background, no matter what you've been through, you are still the best child in the world. Lena found new courage, looking the tutor straight in the eye. I am a noble lady now. I am the one and only daughter of House Balo, yet you keep dismissing my current status. You haven't even properly greeted me since you arrived. Hearing this, the tutor's expression twisted as if she just heard something absurd. My lady, I do understand your embarrassment over your past. Why should I be embarrassed? I have never once felt ashamed of being a commoner. Seeing Lena push back against her, the tutor had no choice but to bow properly and introduce herself. My name is Limeben. Our only goal this month is for you to reach 1/3 of Princess Eula's level. Lena blinked in confusion. Why bring up Eula out of nowhere? To her surprise, Limeben's expression shifted into pure reverence. Princess Eula, though still young, is a flawless being in every respect, while a girl your age ought to have already learned so much more by now. Lena was utterly speechless. She was the exact same age as Eula, so how could this tutor treat her so unfairly? The tutor refused to admit any fault, carrying on with an attitude of, "So what if I said that? What will you do about it?" Lena's temper finally snapped. "If you love nobility so much, then let me show you exactly how noble I can be." At dinner, the moment the Duke and her brothers sat down, Lena burst into tears. Alarmed to see their sister so upset, Wendy and Dale rushed over. "What happened? Who made you cry?" The more she cried, the more overwhelmed Lena became. And the Duke, heart aching, hurried to ask what was wrong. "Papa, am I really such a terrible person? Does my past as an orphan bring shame on this family?" Hearing this, the Duke could no longer stay calm. "Who said such a thing to you? Was it your tutor?" "She said that the way I am now would be a disgrace to House Ballo." "Papa, does my very existence embarrass you?" Lena's words struck straight into the Duke's heart like a blade. His eyes turned cold and sharp. "Headmaid, go bring that tutor here right now." Wanting to seek justice for his beloved daughter, the Duke confronted the tutor directly, demanding to know why she had humiliated the child. "My daughter is only 6 years old, and after taking your lessons, she came to me asking whether she should feel ashamed of her past. Just what exactly have you been teaching her?" But the tutor merely argued that this was perfectly normal. Only by recognizing one's own past shortcomings could one ever achieve lasting progress. This tutor certainly had a way with clever words. "Your Grace, it's a good thing that the young miss can recognize her own flaws. She does have a considerable gap compared to the noble ladies of the capital. But now that I'm here, I will make it my duty to ensure she becomes the most perfect noblewoman of all." At this, the Duke cut off her eloquent little speech. "Susu is my one and only daughter. She has no need to be compared to anyone else at all." He pulled Lena into his arms. "My treasure is already the most wonderful in the world. I said before that I would never let my daughter cry again. So you're dismissed." The moment those words left his mouth, the tutor panicked. "No, please, I must stay and continue teaching the young miss." Lena found this reaction strange. Why was she so insistent on teaching her specifically? Her desperation to stay seemed awfully suspicious. Could she have some other motive? To find out, Lena pleaded with the Duke to let the tutor stay. "But she made you cry. Wouldn't it be better if we found a kinder tutor instead?" With no good reason left to refuse, the Duke had no choice but to give in to his daughter's irresistible pleading. He reluctantly agreed. He warned the tutor, if she ever made Lena cry again, her career would be over for good. That night, as Lena was getting ready for bed, a purple-haired youth suddenly appeared before her. Lena recognized him at once, the same fleeting figure from before. Looking at the boy's cold, distant face, that same strange sense of familiarity washed over her again. Lena reached out to touch him, but her hand passed right through his body. The boy murmured something quietly, then vanished before her eyes. Once she came to her senses, Lena wondered, was he warning her to be careful of the tutor? Thinking it over, she realized the Duke had never publicly announced her adoption, and yet the tutor knew every detail of her past. And she had fought so hard to stay. Could it be that Lena herself was her real target? A bad feeling crept over Lena at once. Could the tutor be someone sent by the imperial consort? If so, best to watch her closely first before doing anything. Lena sat alone, sulking in the garden. It turned out a laundry maid had accidentally ruined the ribbon on her nightgown, the very first gift her father had ever given her. Lena treasured it so much that she hadn't been able to hold back her anger at the maid. Now thinking back on it, the maid hadn't damaged it on purpose at all. Getting so angry at her had really been unreasonable. Nikon, her personal maid, tried to comfort her, saying that since it was something the young miss treasured, being upset over it was only natural. But Lena knew, no matter how kindly she treated others, there would still be people in this household who disliked her. Having grown up at the orphanage, she was used to reading people's expressions. A single glance was enough to tell her how someone really felt about her. It was then that Nikon told her something. Lena was stunned to learn that her earlier warning had had absolutely no effect on the tutor. Who would have thought a noble tutor would get so close to a lowly third-tier maid? She asked Nikon to bring that maid to her, wanting to get to the bottom of it herself. The little maid knelt on the floor, trembling all over. It was all because that morning she had ruined the young miss's favorite nightgown, and as a result had been scolded severely. Now being called in for a private talk, she was certain the young miss was still furious and meant to punish her. "My lady, I was wrong, I truly am sorry, but the punishment she'd imagined never came. Your courage in owning up to your mistake pleased me. Would you like to become my personal maid instead?" Plang froze in shock, but the young miss's expression was far too serious to be a joke. Was she really about to go from a lowly cleaning maid to the young Mrs. Personal Attendant? This truly was a life-changing turn of events. Overjoyed, Plang began serving Lena devotedly. Then Lena suddenly grew somber. "There's something I need to ask you. I hear you've been talking behind my back?" The question terrified Plang out of her wits. She hurried to deny it completely, insisting someone must have set her up. But this came from a teacher I trust deeply. Plang's heart pounded with fear, and she dropped to her knees, bowing over and over, confessing everything. It was that tutor. She kept egging me on, telling me to let out all my pent-up frustrations. "But I swear I hold no grudge against you at all, my lady. That tutor is always discussing you with the maids, and every word she says is vague and suggestive. The kind of thing that easily turns the maids against you." She'd approach them one by one, growing close to them, always steering the conversation back to talk about you. Lena understood now. If what Plang said was true, then the tutor had been deliberately spreading rumors to smear her reputation. But why would she do such a thing? "Plang, I'll give you a chance to make up for this. Will you do exactly as I say?" "My lady, just tell me what to do and I will get it done." That evening, the Duke came again to tell Lena a bedtime story. But this warm father-daughter moment didn't last long. A guard suddenly rushed in reporting an urgent matter. The Duke left Lena in her room and went outside with the guard. Unable to sleep, restless in bed, Lena snuck out to eavesdrop. It turned out 2 lords had rushed to the Duke's territory seeking help. An unexplained plague had suddenly broken out across their lands. Many people had already died, and it was beyond their means to handle, so they hoped the Duke could lend them a hand. Lena couldn't quite understand. Why would they come to Papa for help? Did they have some connection to him? Noticing Lena nearby, the Duke said, "I'm so sorry, I won't be able to read to you tonight." He carried her back to bed, tucked her in, and left. But Lena couldn't sleep at all. Looking out the window, she saw so many people had come to the estate tonight. The situation must truly be serious. Just then, Dale came running to find Lena, grinning eagerly, wanting to sneak downstairs with her to see what all the commotion was about. The night Roland tried to stop them. "You two should really be in bed by now." But Dale wouldn't listen at all. He scooped Lena up and dashed down the stairs. "I'm taking my sister on an adventure. Nobody can stop me." That night, the 2 of them snuck out of their rooms without sleeping a wink, crouching outside the meeting room to eavesdrop on the adults. It turned out 2 villages had been struck by a terrifying plague. The first symptoms were fever and vomiting. By the 3rd day, the victim would bleed out from every part of the body and die. None of the mages could find a way to cure it. Listening to the adults' discussion, Lena felt she had seen these symptoms somewhere before. It seemed to be an extremely serious illness. Dale's voice caught the Duke's attention, and just like that, the 2 children were caught. "Dale, Lena, what are you 2 doing here?" "Roland, where was your sense of duty as their guard?" Seeing Roland getting scolded, Lena quickly took the blame herself. "It's my fault, I couldn't sleep and insisted on coming." Dale stepped in to defend his sister. "Father, I'm the one who dragged Lena along with me." With that, the Duke no longer had the heart to scold them, and reluctantly let the 2 of them stay. The Duke introduced Lena to the 2 lords. "This is my beloved daughter." Seeing such an adorable child, the 2 lords smiled knowingly. The conversation returned to the plague. The deaths of every single patient had been horrifically gruesome. They bled from all 7 orifices until they died, staining the whole village red, like a lake of crimson. It finally clicked for Lena. This was the Ruby Lake Plague from the original story. Back then, Princess Ula had used her spirit power to resolve the crisis, earning her the title of the Holy Maiden among the people. But this disease was supposed to happen much later in the story, and not even in the Duke's territory. Why was it striking here this early? Lena also knew something else. This wasn't truly a plague at all. Someone had poisoned the wells and everyone had died from that poison. In the original story, as Eula traced the source, she pointed the finger squarely at the Duke as the culprit. And in the end, the Duke was brutally beheaded for it. The thought alone made Lena tremble with fear. Noticing Lena's troubled expression, the Duke immediately tensed up. Lena explained she was fine, just a little scared, that's all. Dale assumed his sister had simply been frightened by the grim conversation. The Duke comforted her, telling her not to worry. Father will handle this quickly. But Lena remained deeply troubled. What if events kept unfolding exactly as they had in the original story? What if the royal family forced her father to take the blame in Eula's place? Could she really be about to lose another family member? Dale held her close to comfort her. Sleep with me tonight. I'll protect you. No matter how hard she thought, Lena couldn't figure out why this was happening so many years early. Orla was still so young right now. There was no way she could actually cure those patients. So why poison them in the first place? Suddenly something occurred to Lena. If someone points the finger at another person right from the very start, could that person themselves be the true culprit? Whoever did this must stand to gain something from it. A bold idea began forming in Lena's mind. The one who would accuse her father was Eula. Could this whole plot actually benefit Eula and the Imperial Consort? Would they really slaughter innocent villagers just to serve their own interests? Lena realized this was the consort's revenge against the Duke, because he had adopted her. The consort would strike at his territory to make him pay dearly for it. What should she do now? Dale had no idea what Lena was so worried about. All he could do was hold his sister and comfort her, again and again. The next day, Plang brought Lena a small vial. I did exactly as you said, my lady, but the person took the bait. Lena's expression turned deadly serious. Now tell me exactly what happened. That woman, the young Mrs. Own tutor, had ordered the maid Plang to plant a vial of mysterious liquid, hidden inside Lena's dressing table. She said that all it would take was for that to be found, and Lena would be thrown out of the Duke's household. Plang hadn't imagined the tutor could be so dangerous, willing to actually harm the young miss, and had rushed to tell Lena everything. Lena opened the vial, and a strange scent hit her face at once. The liquid inside was slowly shifting from purple to clear. What on earth was this thing? Why would this get her thrown out of the estate? Could this actually be the Ruby Lake poison? Suddenly, everything clicked into place for Lena. A mass poisoning had struck the Duke's territory, killing many, and the poison had been found hidden in her very own room. Since she had spirit power, the consort wouldn't let her die outright. Instead, she'd use Lena's young age as an excuse to spare her from execution and have her exiled instead. And once Lena fell into the consort's hands, endless torment would await her. Her being adopted by the Duke had thrown off the consort's original plan entirely, which was why the poisoning had been moved up years ahead of schedule, all to snatch her away. Lena weighed her options carefully. The situation was too urgent to simply sit and wait. She needed to confront the tutor directly. Lena marched straight to the tutor's room, pretending to be friendly, reaching for her hand, only to have it slapped away. My apologies, I'm not used to being touched by others. Lena's eyes then landed on a suitcase on the table. The tutor was clearly planning to flee once the poisoning was done. Lena pulled out the vial. I found this in my room. Do you know what it is? The tutor's face went rigid at once. How would I know? Why would you even ask me that? Then how could you not know? The smell of this is exactly the same as the scent on you. This is poison. Stunned that Lena had figured out everything, the tutor's eyes turned venomous. Just then, Plang rushed in. The tutor turned on her furiously. You useless girl, you couldn't even hide one little thing right. You really are pathetic. Abandoning all pretense, the tutor lunged straight at Lena, grabbing her by the throat. How did you know this was poison? Unafraid, Lena confronted her head-on. The Imperial Consort put you up to this, didn't she? The tutor ordered Plang to restrain Lena, while she herself pulled out a large sack, ready to kidnap the girl. So this was your plan from the very beginning, Borer? To kidnap me? You truly are wicked. Lena, still just a child after all, struggled with all her might, but was quickly bound by the tutor, both hands tied tight. I'm the wicked one? You're the wicked one here. A child your age, daring to poison and kill people on the Duke's own land, then fleeing out of fear. You're nothing but a rotten child. Seeing Lena unable to fight back, the tutor smiled in triumph. She threatened Plang. If she wanted to live, she'd better do as told, and go spread the rumor that Lena had poisoned the villagers. Lena was seething with rage. This hateful woman commits murder and tries to pin the blame on me instead. Just then, the door burst open and the Duke, Wendy, and Roland appeared all at once, catching sight of Lena restrained right before their eyes. Wendy rushed forward to shield his sister, while the Duke grabbed the tutor by the throat. Father, don't kill her yet. The Duke told Roland to take Lena back to her room. But just then, Plang's scream rang out behind them. It turned out Wendy had already pressed his sword to Plang's throat. A maid who tried to hurt my sister. I will never forgive that. Lena begged Wendy to let Plang go. It turned out that earlier, Lena had arranged for Plang to enter the tutor's room 5 minutes after her, pretending to be the tutor's accomplice. while Nikon would go find the Duke and Wendy 10 minutes later so they could come rescue her. She was only following my orders. Please let her go, brother. Her life spared, Plang was deeply grateful to Lena. Just moments ago, she'd thought she was about to be abandoned to her fate, since she had once spoken ill of the young miss behind her back, a crime that could easily have gotten her executed. It was the young miss who chose not to hold that grudge and instead saved her life. The young miss truly was her guardian angel. Just then, Wendy came to find Lena, but he brought unwelcome news. The tutor refused to give up the name of the mastermind behind it all. Everyone was certain it had been the imperial consort. But without proof, accusing her would be treated as slandering the royal family. Worse still, this particular poison had no known antidote. Lena panicked. What should we do? Were they really just going to stand by and watch those villagers die from the poison? The consort had never intended to give the villagers an antidote in the first place. A member of the royal family, treating innocent villagers' lives as nothing more than tools for her own gain. How could she be so cruel? And this was absolutely unforgivable. Wendy frowned, looking at Lena. You were nearly kidnapped again today. Why do you keep putting yourself in danger like this? But Lena felt she had already warned her father and brothers beforehand, so surely nothing bad could really happen. The Duke's gaze on Lena grew complicated. That day drew closer, step by step. What if you had really been taken away? What if that person had stabbed you with a knife? What if he had forced poison straight down your throat? Facing her father's questioning, Lena hurried to explain. Only by going myself could I get the information straight from her. I only did it to save everyone. But I don't want my precious daughter risking her own life just to gather information. Having said this, the Duke closed his eyes in pain. The helplessness and sorrow in her father's words struck Lena's heart like a blow. Lena regretted it deeply. She hadn't realized her own stubbornness could hurt her father so much. I only wanted to help you, Papa. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Huge tears rolled down her face, one after another. Hearing the sob in her voice, the Duke felt both heartache and a strange sense of relief. He opened his arms wide and pulled Lena into a tight embrace. Such an understanding, well-behaved daughter. How could he possibly bring himself to scold her further? That evening, the Duke still came to tell Lena a bedtime story. As she listened, an idea suddenly struck her. If she could gather all the toxins together and expel them from a body, couldn't that cure the poisoned villagers too? Her spirit power could turn thought into reality. It was worth trying at least once. Lena asked her father to bring her the vial of poison. She held it tightly in her hand, using it as a conduit to trace the toxin within a body. Lena pictured a tiny droplet, one capable of absorbing all the poison within it, small enough for anyone to swallow easily. A brilliant flash of light suddenly burst around her, and her vision slowly began taking physical shape. Countless tiny beads appeared floating beside her. The Duke stood frozen at the sight for a long moment. Papa, if you give this to the poisoned people to drink, will it work? No sooner had she spoken than she collapsed, exhausted, into her father's arms. This should cure them. Papa won't have to work so hard anymore. Hearing his daughter's whispered words, the Duke's eyes instantly welled with heat. He held her small frame close, his heart overflowing with both emotion and joy. Lena's method worked exactly as hoped. Every poisoned villager made a full recovery. News of Lena's miraculous cure made it into the papers. The story didn't just reveal her existence to the world. It also specifically praised the Duke's efforts throughout the whole ordeal. In the public eye, Lena became a prodigy of a princess. House Balo's reputation improved tremendously as a result. A man ahead of them had dropped a box of candy, and the Duke bent down to pick it up for him. That moment of him bowing left Lena strangely uneasy. She hated seeing her father lower himself before this particular man. The Duke straightened back up and murmured a few words to the man. Lena was a little surprised. Did they know each other? A moment later, the Duke lifted Lena into his arms. Let's go, Papa will buy you something else instead. Watching this warm little scene unfold, the man could only feel an unbearable ache in his chest. He silently pleaded, Don't go, my daughter. Please look my way just once more. The Emperor never imagined he would stumble upon the very daughter he had longed for, day and night, purely by chance. Because he had just heard that the Duke had captured the fleeing imperial consort, and had unexpectedly discovered that she had been periodically sending people to an orphanage all this time. This gave the Emperor a strong feeling. The child he had searched for these past 6 years might not be a son at all, but a daughter. This girl was from that very orphanage, and moreover, her name was Lena. The emperor's heart trembled. Long ago, he and the empress had made a promise. If they had a son, he would be named Silas. If a daughter, she would be named Lena. The emperor's heart churned with 1,000 emotions. So his child was truly alive and well in this world after all. He had to find her. He had to protect her. The emperor set off at once, traveling day and night without rest toward the duke's territory. Along the way, he pictured over and over the moment he would first meet Lena. Should he call out her name first or simply pull her into his arms? How would he even begin to tell her that he was her father? And what would Lena say to him? Would she say she'd missed him? Or would she blame him for taking so long to come find her? But the emperor never expected that he would end up meeting Lena by pure chance, right there on the street. From a distance, he recognized her the very instant he laid eyes on her. But Lena only looked at him with the cool gaze of a stranger, without a trace of the emotional reunion he'd imagined between father and child. Nothing at all. Hearing Lena call the Duke Papa, the emperor suddenly remembered. His daughter had already been adopted by the Duke. "Has your Majesty been well lately?" Faced with the Duke's greeting, the emperor grew visibly tense. It has been a long time. He intended to speak with the Duke. The priority now was to bring Lena back to the palace as quickly as possible. Sensing the emperor's intense, unwavering gaze fixed on Lena, the Duke's ice-cold words rang out like a declaration of ownership. "Lena is my daughter." Hearing this, the emperor lost his composure entirely. So the Duke already knew Lena carried royal blood. Could it be he had no intention of ever returning her? "But Lena is a princess, my own flesh and blood. Then why did you let her live such a wretched life? For 6 whole years, you never once protected her." The Duke's sharp rebuke left the emperor stunned. How could his own child possibly have lived a wretched life? The orphanage had clearly seemed comfortable and warm enough. Even without the finer privileges of royal life, surely she must have still lived a happy, contented existence. The Duke could only see how naive the emperor truly was. For 6 full years, he had shown no concern for her whatsoever. And now he dared to claim the title of father. With that, he lifted Lena and walked away, leaving only the emperor's defeated figure standing alone in the cold wind. This man was the girl's own biological father, yet he could only stand there and watch his daughter call another man Papa. It broke the emperor's heart completely. Realizing the imperial consort was the true mastermind behind the tragedy that had torn father and daughter apart, the emperor's fury grew so intense he ground his teeth in rage. That wicked woman dared to lie to me, telling me my child was dead, even deliberately lying about the child's gender so I'd never find her. What made it even more infuriating was that even the chief physician, who had served beside the empress for over 10 years, had deceived him too. Yet the physician insisted, without wavering, that the empress had given birth to a baby boy that day, only it hadn't died at birth as the consort had claimed, but rather, several hours after the birth, a maid had come to report that the baby had died. And following royal tradition, the funeral had been carried out swiftly afterward. The emperor still had no idea what had truly happened that day. But now that he had found Lena, he was determined to bring her back to his side, no matter what. A lively banquet was underway inside the royal palace. It turned out Princess Eula had invited the children of nobility to join her in celebration. Listening to their flattery and praise, Eula responded with an elegant smile on the outside, though deeply displeased within. It had been so long since she'd thrown a party this grand, and yet her father couldn't even be bothered to attend. If only her brother were here too. Everyone would surely praise them as the most adorable pair of siblings. Eula's thoughts drifted to Lena. That brat had the nerve to steal the spirit power that rightfully belonged to her just to be born. How detestable. There was still a little of that drained spirit power left, but what should she do about the future? What if her father decided to bring that brat back to the palace? Then I suppose I'll just have to reluctantly get along with her. Who told her to be such a foolish, unlikable commoner in the first place? Only a kind, graceful princess like myself could ever be bothered to care for someone like that. Thinking all this over, Eula sighed helplessly. Being a perfect princess was truly exhausting. To show off her spirit power, Eula ordered a maid to bring out a small bird. As the gemstone on her wrist began to glow brighter and brighter, the little bird burst into a sweet, melodious song. The guests present couldn't help but marvel, witnessing the princess use her spirit power with their own eyes. Truly magical, Her Highness is as beautiful as a spirit herself. The flood of compliments left Eula thoroughly pleased. Then Eula asked the crowd, Had anyone heard about the person her father had recently been searching for? One boy eagerly spoke up. I heard they found a new member of the royal family with spirit power. What wonderful news for the whole empire. Eula's expression darkened instantly. This fool has no idea what he's implying. He needs to be humiliated in front of everyone. As she passed by the boy, she pretended to accidentally knock over his cup, instantly staining his expensive formal wear. I heard she grew up among commoners. Everyone, what do you think? Is she some low-ranking branch of the royal family? Or perhaps an illegitimate child of some noble? What a pitiful background. I really do wish I could meet her soon so I could help her. Several guests, hearing Eula's words, expressed sympathy for this new royal's unfortunate background, while also praising Her Highness for being so remarkably kind. Secretly, Eula was delighted. A girl raised among common folk. How could she ever be worthy of standing as her equal? Now that everyone knew of that child's unsavory background, even if she eventually came to the palace, everyone would still treat her like nothing more than a commoner princess. Back at the Duke's estate, Lena proposed that she wanted to study the history of House Ballo, because, according to the original story, the imperial consort and Eula would continue committing evil deeds down the road, deliberately staging crises just so they could swoop in and resolve them, boosting their reputation and cementing their image as the good guys. Lena had to stop them before they could, using her knowledge of the original story's plot to her advantage, while also raising House Ballo's reputation and improving how the world saw them. If she remembered correctly, the next major event would take place in the Demon Beast Forest near the Duke's estate. A white demon beast would appear there, so she needed to gather information about the forest first and prepare thoroughly. While alone in the archive room, a book suddenly fell from the shelf beside her. Lena froze for a moment. Could there be a thief in here? She cautiously crept closer, and once again saw that same white-haired youth. The two of them locked eyes across the bookshelf, and Lena couldn't help but ask, "Who are you?" But the youth said nothing at all. The room fell so silent she could hear nothing but her own heartbeat. Suddenly, Lena dashed around to the other side of the shelf. But the youth had already vanished. He couldn't possibly be a ghost, could he? No, of course not. There's no such thing as ghosts. I'm just scaring myself. In her fluster, Lena picked up the book that had fallen to the floor, and a line of text immediately caught her eye. The Rift to the Other World. Curiosity took hold and Lena began reading carefully. A rift leading to another world had appeared deep within the Demon Beast Forest, and dark power was rapidly leaking out through it. The Demon Beast Forest? This was exactly the information Lena had been looking for. So that youth from before really had been trying to help her. Lena looked up and called out to the empty room, "Are you still here?" But no answer came at all. "Thank you for your help." The book recorded that an enormous amount of dark power had gathered within the forest, causing a great many plants and animals to mutate into demon beasts. Because of a barrier sealing the area off, the demon beasts had never been able to leave the forest. But then, 1 week before the New Year's festival, all the demon beasts had suddenly broken free and swarmed out. House Ballo was said to bear responsibility for this. Lena didn't quite understand. Why would the Duke's family specifically be blamed for it? But she understood one thing clearly. If the consort chose to cause trouble in the Demon Beast Forest, she must be targeting that massive concentration of dark power gathered there. According to the original story's plot, the demon beast that appeared in the forest this time would be enormous and ferocious, and her father, the Duke, would certainly go to subdue it personally. But unexpectedly, right after the New Year's festival following his successful campaign, while everyone's guard was down, the demon beast would appear once more. Lena wondered, should she suggest her father go subdue it again during the New Year's festival this time? But he would surely ask her reason for suggesting it, and how could she possibly explain that? For a moment, Lena fell into gloomy thought. The royal family's own infighting within the palace was one thing, but why did it have to drag innocent villagers on the Duke's territory into it too? Still, Lena refused to give up. Right now, only she knew of the danger that lay ahead. Lena stepped out of the archive room, asking a maid to fetch Brother Wendy. There was something she needed his help with. Hearing that his sister needed him, Wendy immediately dropped everything to help, bringing over every document Lena had asked for. Lena pored over the records related to mages, trying to work out what the consort might do next. Watching his sister's intensely focused expression, Wendy couldn't help but remember the dangerous incident from before, when she had nearly been kidnapped. Lena tends to act so decisively. Surely she isn't planning to go handle something like this on her own again? With that thought, Wendy looked her straight in the eye. Susu, if you need these documents for something other than studying, I hope you won't get involved in anything dangerous. No matter how urgent things get, you must never handle it alone. You still have me, Dale, and Papa. Lena wanted to argue back, but faced with Wendy's worried expression, she found she couldn't say a word. If you got hurt, all of us would be worried sick. We're family. Protecting you matters more than anything else. Relying on guesswork alone wasn't enough to reach any real conclusion. If only she could go to the Demon Beast Forest herself and investigate, but Papa would never allow her to go. She had also already promised Wendy she wouldn't act alone. Was there any way she could go along with Papa and her brothers instead? Seeing the young miss had been studying all through the night, Nikon came over worried about her. My lady, you really should rest. Loving to learn is wonderful, but please don't push yourself too hard. Those words suddenly sparked an idea in Lena's mind. If she simply said she wanted to learn about the forest, surely everyone would agree to take her along, wouldn't they? At dinner, with both Papa and her brothers present, Lena suddenly announced she had something to give everyone. She pulled out 3 invitation cards. My birthday is coming up soon, and I want to celebrate it together with everyone. Lena's heart pounded with nerves. After all, this was the first time she'd ever asked for something like this. Would they really agree? On the card was a simple drawing of their family of 4. I hope everyone can celebrate together with me. Why does your birthday happen to fall right on the New Year's festival? Lena explained she probably hadn't actually been born on that day. It might simply be the day she'd been brought to the orphanage, which had since been used as her official birthday. This was the very first time the Duke had ever received an invitation from his own daughter, and he was deeply touched. While her brothers had already begun planning an extravagant birthday celebration, but Lena didn't want any of that. She voiced her one small wish instead. Since becoming part of House Bellow, she felt she needed to properly study the family's history. I read a book about the Demon Beast Forest in the archive room earlier, and I'd love for all of us to go there together for an outing. Before she could even finish speaking, everyone cut her off in unison. No, absolutely not, out of the question. But why not? We'd take the safest route, and I'd be with everyone the entire way. You'll all protect me, and I'll protect all of you too. Lena looked at her father with pleading eyes. Papa, please, I'm begging you. Utterly powerless against his daughter, the Duke held out for only a few minutes before happily giving in to her request. This was the very first time Susu had ever asked for a gift. He had already decided, after all, that he would spoil this daughter of his forever, giving her absolutely everything she ever wanted. Don't worry, Papa, I promise I'll stay close to everyone and behave. The next day, the 4 of them geared up and set off on their journey. The entire Grand Duke's Ridge lay blanketed in white snow. Lena kept looking around, taking it all in. Just outside the entrance, she was struck by a strange feeling, as if someone here was calling her name. A wave of dizziness washed over her. Papa and her brothers looked at her with concern. Right at that moment, a voice suddenly rang out beside her ear.